When a man becomes a father, he's called upon to make sacrifices for his family. And often these will be small sacrifices. Sometimes they'll be larger, though, more significant. And on even rarer occasion, the duties of fatherhood will require him to make the kind of sacrifice that, up to that moment, he would have thought himself incapable of making.
You have to agree. It is a very hard choice to go and decide to shoot your loved one to save the rest of your family.
When a man must become a hero, when he must lay his very life on the line. And this may take many forms. Perhaps he's rushing into a burning building to rescue his child from the fire. Perhaps he has to pull his loved one away from the path of a speeding train because they've been tied to the tracks by bandits or whatever. Or most harrowing of all, he may be compelled by his paternal obligations to go to a movie theater and watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Ooh, what did you think about it? I personally loved it, but why are you saying like the movie was bad?
Now, a man in that situation would, of course, much prefer to be engulfed in flames or hit by a speeding train, but that would be the coward's way out. He endures Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the sake of his children, whom he loves.
Are you kidding me? Is this just another Sonic bad video?
And over Christmas break, that is precisely the situation that I found myself in. Now, for the record, I'll say I greatly enjoyed most of the time that I spent with my wife and kids these past 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun together. We played football. We played outside. We shot BB guns. We played card games and board games. I completely wrecked my whole family in Monopoly 2 nights in a row.
How come people that shit on other things are typically ones that are full of themselves?
Wasn't even close. We took the kids ice skating. I was ice skating. My wife and kids were left dumbstruck by my gracefulness and elegance on the ice. They didn't say that, but I know they were thinking it.
Like, it's just not me, right? He actually believes his hype this much, right?
These were all wonderful experiences, yet things took a rather distressing turn on the final Thursday of the break when my 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter asked me to take them to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I did. God help me. God help me. I did.
He did. You could have been taken to see Mufasa instead.
Now, before I offer my brief review of this thing that I hesitate to call a film, I must first acknowledge, in all fairness, I never saw Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's possible that one cannot fully appreciate the narrative complexities of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 without having seen the first 2 chapters in this epic Hedgehog saga.
Yes, actually. Well, it's not required. Watching 1 and 2 will go and see the growth that Sonic had since the beginning. Family. In the second movie, he finds his friends. In the third movie, it's him valuing both of them. Also a bit of a dark topic about loss, but let's get back to that later.
Maybe the other 2 movies are works of staggering artistic genius that would elevate the third installment and lend it the sort of context necessary for me to have appreciated it and enjoyed it instead of feeling like I was being waterboarded with high fructose corn syrup the whole time.
I have a feeling this guy did not like the Mario movie either.
But I doubt it. I mean, this is the kind of movie where Jim Carrey plays 2 characters. One is the evil villain, and the other is the evil villain's evil grandfather in old age makeup. And the 2 break into an impromptu dance routine that makes no narrative sense but lasts approximately 87 minutes.
No, we can't just have a minute of just silly goofiness with a silly goofy character, no.
It's the kind of movie where those same characters before the dance routine actually look directly into the camera and explain that they're being played by the same actor.
Are we really complaining about a dumb fourth wall break joke?
I must assume, and I think assume safely, that there is nothing in the other 2 films that would make this one any less obnoxious or horrifically stupid. Now, I'm not going to bother explaining the plot of this film in any detail. I wasn't tracking it that closely, to be honest. I was mostly fighting to stay awake. This is the kind of movie that bores you to the point of putting you to sleep, but also annoys you at the same time. It's kind of an odd combination to be both sleepy and deeply irritated.
Maybe you actually paid attention to the story, maybe you'd actually enjoy it. As we can see going forward, you did not.
Simultaneously. As for the plot, I can only tell you that Sonic is the good hedgehog, which you may know. There's also an evil hedgehog voiced by Keanu Reeves, who, and I like Keanu Reeves, by the way, but like every other voice actor in this film and most voice actors in most children's films that have been made for the past 20 years, he has no talent as a voice actor and doesn't understand how to act with just your voice.
And you do? I felt Shadow's sorrow seeing Maria die. I felt his pain. Keanu did wonderful.
But he's famous, so that's good enough, I suppose. So Sonic has to stop the evil hedgehog and his evil cohorts, the Jim Carrey dancing duo I mentioned earlier, from blowing up the world with a big laser.
And this is what I mean by he did not pay attention to the movie, considering he's still referring to Shadow as evil hedgehog, even though if anyone has seen the movie, he would know he's actually anything but.
And, you know, this has been the evil plan of every evil villain in every blockbuster franchise film for the past 3 decades. It's a formula that this movie is not interested in deviating from. This is not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas. Now,
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is an adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2 that was released in 2001. This was the plot that happened in the game, so it happens in the movie, in its own unique spin.
if you're wondering why the evil hedgehog and the 2 Jim Carreys want to explode the world and murder 8 billion people in a cosmic blast that they will also die in, it's because the older Jim Carrey's granddaughter, I think, was killed, and now he wants to commit murder-suicide because life isn't worth living.
Ignoring the fact that it wasn't Shadow's idea and he also saved the day, ignoring the fact that Eggman didn't know that Gerald wanted to blow up the world and thought he was just going to rule alongside him, yeah, it's obvious you never paid attention to the movie.
Like, that's real. That's in the movie. He actually declares his suicidal intention as well.
Oh, also forgot to add that Gerald was playing Eggman the entire fucking time.
Now, if that seems like weirdly bleak and dark for a kid's movie where the characters bust out impromptu dance routines and randomly break the fourth wall and constantly speak in internet lingo from 2019, there's a lot of that, by the way. Just as one example, at one point, Jim Carrey says, "Damn you, autocorrect."
I guess modern movies can't have modern slang anymore. Also, the improv dance only happened once. Stop acting like it's a constant.
If it seems weirdly bleak and dark for that kind of movie, it's because it is. This is a movie, like so many kids' movies these days, that schizophrenically darts back and forth from being ironic to painfully self-serious to goofy to earnest, and so on and so on.
Doesn't the MCU try to do something similar? Do like action and some dark topics with humor spread throughout? Sonic actually does spread things out decently well, considering typically when Shadow's on screen, it is serious. When Sonic's on screen, it's more silly.
It doesn't try to smooth over these tonal transitions with good writing or performances. The writing is just terrible, and the performances are atrocious across the board. Instead, it just flings it all against the wall haphazardly, because these are all bullet points that the movie studio knows it has to hit.
Or is trying to adapt an old game that was made in 2001 with the setting that they've already established in the movies. I am not giving you a pass for not paying attention to the story.
Because this movie, again, like so many kids' movies these days, is not the fulfillment of anyone's creative vision.
Oh yeah, absolutely none. It's not like they're trying to adapt something into a movie format.
It is just the product of a corporate algorithm.
If it was, why does it have a bunch of fan service for all the different fans out there?
It is loud and ugly and obnoxious and disjointed because nobody who made the film actually cared about making a good film.
Tell that to Jim Carrey. Tell that to Keanu Reeves. They both will laugh you out because there was passion in this damn project. You can't just undermine that for not paying attention to the movie, you dumb fuck!
And they have absolutely no respect for their audience. I mean, this movie could have been made by AI. We are at a point.
Trust me, for someone that's paid attention, there was too much love to put in that to be copied by AI.
If they start making movies with AI, we would not know the difference because they've effectively been doing that for 20 years now. Now, you might respond here, as many people on Twitter did after I gave a very brief review of this film in a tweet on the site a few days ago. you might respond that, well, this movie isn't for me. It's for kids. Well, first of all, tell that to the other people in the theater with us. I can tell you that my kids were by far the youngest people in attendance. There were multiple groups of adults, just adults, no kids, whole groups of them who bought tickets to Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Sonic fans supposed to see the Sonic movie. Not a big fucking surprise. This is the adaptation of Sonic Adventure 2. One of the most beloved Sonic games of all time. It's no wonder why a lot of adults would want to see it that grew up with that game.
Also, tell it to the multiple grown adults who got angry at me on Twitter for not liking the movie. The funny thing is that a lot of those same people say, well, it's not for you, it's for kids. Why are you getting so upset about it then? Why are you tearfully defending a movie that you claim is not for you either?
Because people don't like it when you shit on the fanbase. And you, as someone who clearly hasn't actually paid attention to the fucking movie, do not have the right to criticize it because you practically didn't actually see it.
In fact, one person told me that my negative comments had upset, and I'm repeating this phrase verbatim, had upset the, quote, Sonic community. Now, those are not kids who identify themselves as members of the Sonic community. My 8-year-old loves Sonic, but he's not on Twitter furiously defending the Sonic community from its detractors.
Because you're taking the piss out of something that you didn't watch. It's not really that shocking to believe that people that like something would want to make a community around it.
So I agree that these kinds of movies are for kids, but I am not the one who needs to be told that, okay? Second, and this is most important, and it shouldn't need to be explained, but really it does, and that's really my only point here. It is possible to make a children's movie that, although it's for children, is still a good, high-quality piece of art.
I actually agree with this. Children can handle really good content, especially ones with dark subject matters, if it has a good ending in it. However, it does feel like some parents these days want to avoid any and all of that could upset the children.
I don't hate children's movies just because they're for children. Quite the opposite. As a father of 6, I've watched many, many children's movies. Okay, I've watched way more than the average person because I have so many kids. And I greatly appreciate the good ones. A few nights ago, just as an example, we watched the movie Iron Giant with my kids, and that's an animated children's film. It's also well written, beautifully illustrated, brilliantly performed, tonally consistent. It's funny and heartwarming, and at points it's sad, but it works all of that in a way that feels natural to the story. It's a children's film, and it's also a great film.
Iron Giant is actually a good one. Another good one that you might not expect is actually Shrek 1 and 2. Considering the first one is about accepting oneself, and then the other one is really accepting the fact that you don't have to change yourself for your loved ones.
One that I can watch and also enjoy. Because as it turns out, children's movies are not just for children. They're for parents too. Or at least they should be. Okay, if a kid's movie or kid's show is so grating and so dumb and so unpleasant that parents can't stand to be in the same room while it's on?
While I do worry that is where kids' media will end up, I am glad that Sonic the Hedgehog is not going that direction at all.
That doesn't mean it's for kids. It isn't for kids. It isn't for anyone. It's just bad. And the fact that people say, well, of course it's bad, it's for kids, tells you everything you need to know about our culture.
I agree, but again, when I went and found that tweet and looked at it, I actually only found one person that has said anything close to "is for kids."
They act like it's ridiculous to expect the content produced for kids to be high quality or to have any artistic merit whatsoever. But I tend to think exactly the opposite. I think content produced for kids should especially be high quality and should especially have artistic merit.
Again, I agree, but I am curious what he counts as high quality. Hell, he works for the Daily Wire and there's no gays or trans people in the movie. Seriously, what is his problem with it?
Which is why I hated Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and why it is today I must say, sadly, canceled.
Well, that is enough time for a guy who didn't give the movie a shot. Anyways, that's all for this time. This is Recycling the Joke Gamer, and I hope to see all you guys again next video. See you guys then.